Alright, so let's talk about frames. I'm going to create a new document, file, new document, and I'm just going to make it 3 pages, and I'm going to give it a 1-inch bleed. Again, if you don't see this reacting with the preview, click somewhere else in another one of these little windows right here, and you will force the preview. I'm going to hit OK. And what we have right now is a single page followed by a 2-page spread. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a frame so that we can start inserting images. Now, you will notice right here on the left hand side that we have 2 icons that look like symbols. One of them have an X in the middle. So if I click and hold my left mouse button, you will notice that we have a rectangle frame tool, an ellipse frame tool, and a polygonal frame tool. And right below that, we have the rectangle tool, the elliptical tool, and the polygonal tool. Now, remember, the one with the X in the middle is the frame. So how does a frame work? Well, if I click and drag and let go, you will notice that immediately I get a frame with the X in the middle. I can use the move tool to resize my frame. If I click and drag on one of the edges, I can move the entire frame. Now, to add an image inside of this frame, we would go to File and Place. That's one way of doing it. We can find our page, select one of the items, and you will notice that now we have an image inside of the frame. If I click on this dial right here in the middle, notice that I get this, let me move it down below. I get this brown frame around this image. This is the border of my image, not the border of my frame. So I can shrink this down now by dragging one of the anchor points from the corners and holding the Shift key. And notice that I'm able to shrink my image, and always use that circular dot in the inside. And if you want to bring back the selection tool, just click on it once and then just drag the corners. And as you can see, my image lives on the outside of this frame. I can move this object past my frame. And the other way that we can select this image right here is with the direct selection tool, the white arrow. And this one is much easier because as soon as you click on the image, you don't have to hold the round button or anything like that. You can just directly select the image. Now we have a frame and then we have the image. Remember, the image lives inside of the frame. So if I shrink my image, there's nothing right here. However, if I make my image bigger, like so, then I can move my object without having to worry about touching the frame. And if I want to move the frame, then what I can do is I can click on one of the edges and I can move that edge. And if I hold the Shift key, I can restrain the movement of that edge so it doesn't get all clunky like this. Let me undo this real quick. Again, click on the edge and then immediately hold the Shift key. I can also select the anchor points that make one edge and then move that edge. And if I want a weird angle, I can also move one of the anchor point, but this is not preferable. I can also click and drag my frame and then move the entire thing at once. Just like the move tool, I can move it outside of my image into the bleed zone, which is this light red color. And if I hold the spacebar and move my image, I can always resize the frame. And notice, I'm resizing the frame, I'm not resizing the image. In order to resize the image, I would have to click on the inside until I get my brown frame, and then I can resize the image. Like so. So this is how we add an image inside of a rectangular frame. Now let me select everything and delete it. I'm going to create an elliptical frame. And again, this is just like an Illustrator ellipse path. So hold the Shift key if you want to get a 1-to-1 ratio circle. Another way of placing images inside of InDesign, let me move my image to the right hand side, is by utilizing what we call the mini bridge. Now the mini bridge works like the bridge tool from Adobe. And as soon as you open the mini bridge, if it does not work, what you have to do is you have to launch bridge. As soon as you do that, bridge will launch in the background. And this mini bridge will act just like the bridge tool. I can find my project. And again, here are my images that I can drag inside of my frame. I can then select the direct selection tool and move my object accordingly. Remember, the object, once it's selected, I get the brown frame, and now I can adjust my image the way I want it. And there you have it. I can also create a polygonal frame like so. Remember, this is identical to an Illustrator path. So I can select my direct selection tool. I can select these 3 points right here. I can enlarge my polygonal shape, and immediately I can drag an image inside here. And again, if I click and select the image, I can shrink it. Then I can select the move tool, and that selection behaves like a free transform tool. I can go right mouse button and go to transform, and I can flip it horizontal. I can then move it back to the inside of the frame, and I can still make more adjustments on the frame. And because this frame right here works like a path, I can select the pen tool, and I can work on these anchor points right here. For example, I can select the convert direction point tool, and on these corners I can make them rounder, and I can even delete them with the delete anchor point tool, and so on. And again, this is how we use the frame tool inside of InDesign to add images to our pages.